Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, the 27th of March, and today's episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries is all about keeping your sanity while adjusting to a new reality. On today's show, we'll be telling you how to work together with others while you're miles apart, how to think like an astronaut when confined in a small space for a long time, and some tips and tricks for staying sane when everything says it's time to go crazy. Live from Houston with Ernesto Verdugo and live from Dubai with Dave Crane.
Hi, Dave.
Ernesto, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. How are you?
I am delighted to be here with a very exciting episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries, where we're going to be covering a lot of very important information on how to keep your sanity over the time that we're actually spending in confinement. How was your day?
My day was very challenging because we decided that what we're going to do was do some tidying up. And so it was a case of going from my office here and also around the house and just cleaning stuff up. Now, here's the thing. When you stay in a place for a long time, one of the ways of actually making yourself feel better is just to declutter and work your way through everything. I mean, I hate cleaning. It does my head in. But afterwards, it's like a breath of fresh air. And it's really strange because it's one of the best ways for dealing with a split with somebody is if your partner and you've split up, redecorate the house and move all the furniture around, and it feels like a different house because you have no memory of that person being in a house the way you set it out. So we did that today. It was really cool. And so that was pretty much the day. Then I chilled out watching a movie with my daughter up until about 5 minutes ago. So I stopped now.
That's very cool. Well, for me, as you know, my day just started a little bit earlier, and I woke up to the news that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is now also affected by coronavirus. So you are, once again, the UK representative in this program, so you can possibly share your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't see anybody in a situation like that. And I haven't really got many thoughts on Boris Johnson, to be honest with you. I've lived out of the UK for quite some time. But the most important thing is he is the commander-in-chief and the most important voice in the UK. And right now it needs a steady hand and somebody who's quite clear on what they plan to do. And so whether people like Boris Johnson or don't like Boris Johnson, if he's hampered or he's thinking about something else and is not able to do his job, that's a bad thing for everybody. He needs to be clear in his message. So I wish him a very swift recovery. And I know he's self-isolating. He's got a pregnant wife, which is a big challenge as well, because apparently children can inherit the disease through a pregnancy. And I hope that he recovers very quickly in time to be able to help everybody as well.
That's right. Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to put together this show is we want to support people with some information, and one of the things that we have been discussing just off the air is, well, if they're saying that over 50% of the population are actually going to be getting the coronavirus, and it is not something that we would like to, we don't want to alarm everybody. But I was just looking at this chart, which I think you're going to find it incredibly interesting. This is a chart that talks about how the coronavirus. Okay, so over there you can see how everything started. This is an interesting chart that is produced every 3 or 4 days of what's the progress. And as we saw at the very beginning of March, we had South Korea as the very top. And then afterwards, Italy was taking over, and Italy was really very strong. And Korea started going back. And then Iran was also moving along. And then suddenly all the other countries started moving along. And I think this is just an interesting thing, not for creating panic, but more than anything for making people understand that the countries which are taking this seriously are declining and not growing. Today, we have the news that the United States was actually number one, America first. So you can share possibly, Dave, a little bit of information on that with us while we finish this chart.
Yes, it's a terrible thing to have as your title, being the number one carrier with the most incidents. But it seems to be a combination of things. As soon as you're able to do proper testing and you're able to get the message out to people as quickly as possible to take it seriously and self-quarantine your family and stay indoors and keep a social distance, and then you're able to get the hospitals ready with as much as possible, and that message has to have transparency. I think the key to it is to not BS, excuse me saying it, your country, and just let everybody know that's a real deal. The minute you start saying we're okay and things are fine, people start relaxing. And the only way that you can manage to change that curve that we talked about, where you can slow it down so there's less instances of it and the hospitals can deal with it, is just let everybody know that there's quarantine going on and you have to self-quarantine. Now, there's lots of challenges, and we're going to be talking about them today, about the mental health aspects that really do hit people, because when it comes to self-quarantine and it comes to the sort of depression and things that go with it, there are a number of different people that have to deal with it different from everybody else. So let's take, for instance, mental health, because it's having a real impact, first of all, on health workers, people who are out there on the forefront, who know they may well be catching it themselves and carrying it back to their families, but they volunteered to go out, or their work says that they're out there to help people. It also has a big impact on doctors, of course, because they're the front line of defense for everybody. We need them to be out there and feeling good about doing it without being in quarantine. But that means that at the back of their mind, they do feel that they want to be distanced. But also, I mean, we will talk a little bit later on in a section all about the 10 things you can do to deal with it if you're stuck at home. But children have a real challenge as well. And I'll tell you where the biggest challenge for children is, because they've got no way from experience of being able to put the concept together of what we're going through. Now, for us as adults, we can always look at what's happening in other countries and look at what other wars have brought in. But for children, certainly from the age of, say, 4 to 10, they've got no concept. So there's a massive fear of dying, which can come to them, fear of relatives passing, and a fear of going to get medical treatments, which can be there underneath the surface, not least the fact that they're so used to having their peer group around them. Any challenges they have, and let's face it, as adults, we learn more in the playground from other kids than we probably did in the actual classroom, because of that ability to bond and share and grow together. They're going through this pretty much on their own. And when I mentioned yesterday about one of the great ways of dads being able to create fun amongst kids by doing a dance party using Skype or Zoom and let the kids have fun together, I think that ability to get kids to connect, even though they're remote, is very important. So I know you're going to be touching on that with an orchestra a little bit later on. But it comes down to stress, anxiety, fear, and isolation. And various countries should now start examining the mental health aspects of this, because people should be considering how they deal with it, and organizations should be considering stepping up their ability to get real therapy and real help online, even for a distance, because there will be a lot of people, especially if you're living on your own. That's the worst time to be isolated, because you literally are like the last person on earth. At least with a family, you can argue with each other, fall out, and hide in a different part of the house. So I really feel for that, but I will be giving some tips later on about how to deal with it more effectively.
Yeah, as you were mentioning about the kids, I run across this video last night, and even though it will give you a laugh, I mean, it is actually a reality of what's going on and how children are actually feeling. So have a look.
And KFC and McDonald's.
Chinese closed.
Chinese is closed too.
What deliveries?
All the deliveries. You've literally got to eat Mummy's cooking now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Pizza Hut's closed too.
So yeah, it is indeed. I mean, right now, everybody, I mean, from kids to adults, and everybody's getting really afraid and confused and everything. I mean, that poor girl was very afraid because she has to eat mommy's food because everything is closed. Now, my share today is about how people are actually perceiving it and why it's so important that you actually have the right analogy or the right metaphor inside of your head. First of all, some people are taking it a little bit too much in extreme. They're saying, well, you know, I mean, I've been confined, and they're actually counting the days, and it doesn't happen every time that I look at social media, there's people saying, well, today is day 14 or day 15 or whatever. And what that reminds me is in 2010, the Chilean miners that actually got stuck in the cave, and they were 73 days. There were 33 people captured there, and how they survived. And that's how most of you possibly are seeing this situation. I mean, of course, that's just really, you don't have to worry too much about so many things as the miners were wearing. In the other hand, if you change the analogy, and instead of counting the days and making it seem like if it is something which is going to be too long or whatever, try to think of yourself like if you will be an astronaut. This is a very sane piece of advice. We are seeing here in the picture on the right, those are the astronauts on the space station. You can see some Russian astronauts, you can see some American astronauts, and some astronauts from different nationalities. As you can see, all of them are packed into a small piece of confined space. And one of the things that they recommend as astronauts is that you need to, first of all, you have to be very disciplined. And I think this also works out for our confinement that we're having. So make sure that you're waking up early, make sure that you take a shower early, make sure that you make your bed, make sure that you have your routine as best as you possibly can. Yes, you can have some flexibility, but make sure that it's just not only like, well, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do today? You need to create a routine that basically, by creating routines and by being disciplined, it's how people get to live a lot longer in confined spaces, as we are saying with the astronauts. So don't think yourself as if you're trapped. Think like if you are in the space station. And this metaphor, this analogy, I think it will help you a lot better during these times of confinement.
I completely agree. One of the things that came to mind for me was Viktor Frankl, who was a survivor of the Holocaust and the Second World War, was in a concentration camp, and he wrote the incredible book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he said that the way that people managed to survive being in Nazi concentration camps was two things. First of all, they managed to get through it because of their hate of what was going on, or their love of their family, so the need to see their family afterwards, or their hate of what was going on, so they had to make sure that they could get out with their story. But also, they created an alternative reality for themselves. So you may remember that movie, Life is Beautiful, where the guy's in a concentration camp with his kid, so he makes it all fun for the kid. But if you can change your reality, so every day you're thinking about it as a different thing, not being stuck in and there's a day's ticking away and this is horrible, because then you got a sense of loss. But look at it as an opportunity to have a month of Fridays or Sundays or days off. And then you can create something that you can really enjoy. And looking at it from 2 points of view, and I'll go through the actual nuts and bolts of changing your reality, but if you can imagine what you want to do when it's all over, but at the same time, change your reality of the present. So don't think it's day 1, day 2, day 3. Just go from day to day without a number of I wake up, I go through, got my routine. That really helps to face it. And I can see there you're going to make a very, very important point as well, Ernesto.
Absolutely. I think this is, once again, this is a funny meme that people are sharing. But what we're trying to do is we want you to see things of how people are perceiving it and how it will be more effective for you to perceive it. And over here, we can see here my grandfather, how my grandfather saved the world, how I saved the world. Yes, they're asking us to be there. But it's not only about just jumping and staying there on the sofa doing nothing and watching television. but you need to see this really as a alternative reality, as Dave is actually mentioning. That will help you tremendously in getting a lot of value out of this time of confinement that we are having.
That's absolutely correct. And seeing it as an opportunity to do some stuff that you've always wanted to do is a massive way of dealing with it, rather than seeing it as things that have been taken away from you, because your brain will lock itself down of its fear, whereas it will work on whatever you give it to. I mean, as you know, I've been a hypnotherapist for many, many years, and your brain is like a supercomputer. So it will work on whatever you're interested in. So if you're a very negative person, you talk about how bad life is and how the opportunities are no longer there, it's going to focus on that and find more examples of what you're interested in. If you focus on the opportunities and the chance to relax and learn some new skills and do some stuff that really interests you, it will go, okay, the boss is interested in that. Let's find more examples about that. And so it really is down to you and your mindset and what you put out there. As I mentioned, a little bit later, we'll be going through 10 tips that you can use to be able to change the way that you create a relationship with yourself on that. But I understand that we've also got the opportunity to find out how an orchestra, despite the distance, are able to work together. And that will be great for anybody who's got a remote team and wondering how you can still bond and keep the team working even when you don't see each other.
Yeah, that is correct. The Philharmonic Orchestra of Rotterdam created a video that is called "This Is for You," and what they are showing there is how everybody's working remote and how they can work together as an orchestra. Orchestras always need to start playing, and this is something that I am seeing with my son Vincent. He also plays in an orchestra, and right now, what's going on is that every kid is actually getting together using Zoom or using a specific software, which actually we will be showing to you tomorrow. We will be showing to you how to do virtual choirs. It's going to be very interesting, so make sure to watch us tomorrow. But anyway, let's just go, and so you can see at least a bit how they are working right now on the orchestra, the Philharmonic Orchestra of Rotterdam.
Hallo allemaal, ik ben Pierre Bijzer en ik speel hoorn in het Rotterdamse Philharmonisch Orkest.
Mijn naam is Maria Dingjan.
Jan Jansen.
Anja van der Maat.
Juliana Sommerhalder.
Kalaet Samson.
Annemarie Stukker.
Simon Wierega en ik speel trompet.
Wendy Lelyveld.
Arjen Leendert.
Pierre Volgers.
Ik ben Rosalinde en ik speel altviool.
Laurens Otto.
Josephine Lek.
Ik ben Hendrik Vilnius. Wilco Bijnema.
Pieter Neuten.
Ik ben Saskia.
En ik ben Wim.
Wij spelen in het Rotterdamse Philharmonisch Orkest.
We moeten ons aanpassen aan een nieuwe werkelijkheid.
En oplossingen vinden
Om elkaar te steunen.
Creatieve krachten helpen ons hierbij.
En laten we out of the box denken.
en innovatie gebruiken.
Om het samen te doen.
En ons verbonden met elkaar te blijven voelen.
Als we het samen doen, gaat het ons lukken.
I found this fascinating because, of course, you're seeing, well, what they are saying, you couldn't see the subtitles underneath, but he was saying, we are an orchestra, we need to play, and we need to find the play and how we can actually practice our day-to-day routine. And what they started doing was working to this with this technology, which is called the virtual choir, which we will show you exactly how that is done tomorrow. And you can also put it and implement it. So the reason why Dave and I wanted to bring this across to you is because, of course, possibly you are working with a number of people around the world, and that you can see if an orchestra can do it, we can do it too.
Absolutely. And I think that it's a case of just understanding the reality of where you are and what you're doing, and there are limitations. And obviously you have to have a very strong internet connection, because that does not work if somebody's like half a second out, because all we're going to have is massive arguments. You were wrong. No, that's perfect. But when you get it coordinated, there's no reason why any business can't function, or any family can't function as well. So it's a very good example. Thanks, Ernesto.
Yeah. By the way, I am just getting a message here that we have our correspondent in Sugarland, Texas, Frank Mulcahy. He is right now outside HEB in Sugarland, Texas. So let me bring him on. Hello, Frank. How are you?
The hand carts before you go in. They also have all of the hand dispensing. But then uniquely inside, they have footprints, little decals that show people while they're waiting to approach the checkout line, which is long, they have to stay 6 feet apart. And then when they get up to the checkout register, they've actually installed a plexiglass barrier between the cashier and the customer. So again, they're trying their best. I actually was in line to get some groceries, but about 9 to 10 people ahead of me was coughing and hacking, and I just decided to abandon the shopping at that particular location, and I'm now going online, getting everything delivered for just a couple dollars more. So I advise everybody, shop online if possible, because even with these extra precaution steps, it may not be enough if those droplets are lingering in the air. Back to you, Ernesto, from Sugarland, Texas.
Thank you, Frank, very much. Before we continue, allow me to acknowledge some of our viewers, and thank you very much for those of you which are watching us right now. I would like to say thank you to Tracy Zimmerman, which is actually confirming that she has been doing that during the week. I mean, actually shopping online. We can also thank Andrea Gomez, that is letting us know that she's liking the advice that we are providing. And also thank you to Chantel Simone by reminding us that we have to continue with the mental health aspects. And Dave, tomorrow we are going to be addressing specifically mental health points. But just as a teaser for today, or as a startup for what we're going to be covering tomorrow, would you mind going over your list of tips?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sane?
Absolutely. And I think it's very key. And for anybody who wants to make notes of it, do it now. Otherwise, watch the video when the replay and you can get it. So 10 things you can really do to change how you deal with the challenges is, first of all, manage your expectations. Make sure that you know what it is you're getting into, and you're going to be there for some time, and you're not sure how long it's going to go. And make sure that you do have other things to do while it's going on. Number 2, managing your stress threshold. So getting plenty of sleep is a key to it. If you're finding that your sleep pattern's all over the place, your stress can get a lot worse as a result of it. So make sure that you're aware of stress points and lower them right down. Number 3, be compassionate with yourself and others. Don't lose your top. Don't blame yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time or others a hard time. They're all trying to cope, same as you. And it's what it is. There's nothing you can do about it, so just deal with it that way. Managing your connections is always useful as well. Get on, talk to people you haven't talked to for a long time. You have an opportunity finally to pick up the phone and work your way through the phone book. Bore everybody, but say hi, how's it going? And if you get a call out of the blue from somebody who you've not talked to for a very long time, is just checking in on you, it's really nice to rekindle old relationships and old friendships, because you know that people care outside of your house. Okay, managing uncertainty and staying in the present is also very important. Just deal with it from day to day. You've got 24 hours, you spend some of it sleeping, just take it as it comes. When you know that you deal with the now rather than what's coming up tomorrow, you know, with food and other challenges that might be there, your health and so on, then it's easy. Every morning you wake up, you got food, you make a deal, you call people, and that's what you have to do. So to move through very quickly, exercise. Now, we're going to be talking about that soon, because we've got a fatness challenge, which we've been putting off for a very long time, Mr. Ernesto Verdugo. So staying with exercise really helps us. See, I knew you'd do that.
It's now 5 days, and we have been always telling, well, we're going to do the fitness challenge. We're going to do the fitness challenge, and for some reason beyond my control, don't blame it only on me. We haven't actually gotten to that.
It's coming soon. Let me finish off my list anyway, but we'll return to that. So fight the boredom, get through things, do stuff to keep yourself occupied. There's movies, there's internet, there's music, there's audios, you can paint. I've been teaching my daughter how to do chalk and charcoal drawings this morning of her favorite Marvel characters. Well, my favorite Marvel characters like Black Panther. But it doesn't matter. The fact that you've got a chance to do new skills and have time is very useful. Also, moving around your living space, redecorate, move stuff around, make the living room face a different direction. Don't necessarily paint it because you can't get out with the smell of paint, but you can move everything around, try new angles. It really feels like it's a new place. It becomes exciting. And keeping in touch with family and friends, that's very key. They're there to help you. You're there to help them. And even treat yourself like it's part of your CSR, your personal CSR, is to reach out and help other people. That will really help. I mean, myself and Ernesto doing this show, there's no money in it. There's just a chance to connect and help people. And so that's what's driving us every day. And it's kept us busy and kept us doing it. And the last thing I wanted to say is just let yourself off the hook. This is not your fault. You didn't create it, nor is it your fault on how you deal with it. So you might mess up, you might get it right, you might not get it right. You can talk to experts who can tell you the mental health aspects, but just see it as a different opportunity. One day, people will talk about the time you were in quarantine, and you'll tell your kids about it if they can't remember about it, and we'll all laugh about it. Right now, it's more challenging, but that won't be forever. So those 10 tips are going to really help you to have a think about it. And I'll just give it one last thing before we complete, and that's a breathing technique to deal with anxiety. And I teach people this as a public speaker trainer when they've got a challenge about their fear of public speaking, but it works for any fear or anxiety. It's called a 4-7-8 technique. I'll talk you through it very, very quickly, but you can do it now if you want to, or at the end of this video. You breathe in for 4, the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. You hold it for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you breathe out slowly for 8. So you breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. You hold it. So you breathe in for 4, then 7, then breathe out for 8. Then you go back to breathing in again on 4. You do this 4 times. And what it does, it presses a reset button on your anxiety and your stress. It's really good before you go to sleep because it calms you down. It also fills your head full of lots of oxygen, which means that you are chilled out. So if you are finding yourself going a little bit stir crazy, practice that, practice meditation, and even getting hypnosis audios will really help a lot. Ernesto, have I lost you? You've gone quiet on me. It's always a worry when that happens.
I am back. I don't know exactly what happened there, but
you're breathing.
Breathing. I was actually doing the breathing exercise. Well, anyway, we are running out of time. It's been a pleasure being with you today on the Toilet Paper Diaries. We hope that you watch us tomorrow, or make sure that you go to bit.ly /the Toilet Paper Diaries or Toilet Paper Diaries, and you follow us there. I would like to actually end the show.
Hold on. Wait. bit.ly /give me paper.
Give me paper. Okay,
that's it. Not
correct.
Toilet paper. Give me paper. Okay.
Awesome. That is great. I would like to close the program with a very nice video from Tony Robbins.
I'm here to remind you, all you need is a meaningful life. Everything else is going to go up and down and change. The economy is going to change. Your friends are going to change. Your family's going to change. Your economics is going to change. Your business is going to change. The one lasting thing is a life of meaning. That's more than money. What makes it meaningful for you? I bet loving relationships is a huge part of that. If you have them, your life is meaningful. No matter what happens to you economically, having people you love and who love you is priceless. If you want to know your wealth, look around the people you love and love you. And if you don't have a bunch of them, it's time to change that. That's all in your control. All it takes is to focus on their needs instead of your own, and your needs will be met because you'll feel so alive by being a giver. My number one question in life is, how can I help? By seeing I can touch other people's lives, it makes my life have meaning. That goes beyond happiness or sadness, goes beyond money or lack thereof. Rich comes and go. Wealth comes from the things that are meaningful, because there's some part of you that's hungry. Your hunger is a part of your wealth. The hunger to grow, the hunger to learn, the hunger to give. I just really want to encourage you before you leave tonight, when you go tomorrow, leave wealthy. Don't leave with, I'll learn some more stuff. Leave with a stacking, and leave with some plan that not only is going to make your life better than the ones you love, but also some plan of something you're going to do for others who can't help or hurt you. Because that will teach your brain there's more than enough. What makes it meaningful for you?